What about credit unions? Are they included?
I'm not sure if they are or not. I have to look at the statute. I can get back to you on that on Monday.
What say on the income?
No, these are all financial institutions. I was concerned about credit unions.
Oh, okay.
But they were exempt. I know in some cases they were exempt from certain things. I didn't know that.
That is a good question. I'm not sure. I have to take that for you. Is there any other questions?
All right. You're for also number two, or that's the famous Ms. Washington?
Ms. Washington.
All right.
Good evening, Mayor.
Good evening.
The next item on the agenda is an ordinance granting a franchise to Georgia Power by the city of Stonecrest. And as you might recall, a couple months ago, the city granted a franchise to Snack and Shows, an electric franchise to Snack and Shows. This will be the second electric franchise to Georgia Power. Just a few things to point out about this franchise. It will be 35 years from the date of adoption. And the franchise fees will be 4%. There's two different categories for this first year. So in March of 2018, the city will receive 4% of the gross sales of electric energy to customers served under the residential and commercial rate schedules, and that will be for this calendar year. So for calendar year 2017, in March of 2018, you will receive 4% of the gross sales of electric energy for residential and commercial rate schedules. But for industrial rate schedules, you will receive in March of next year, 4% of the gross sales of electric energy to industrial rate schedules. However, you don't receive those for the calendar year 2017. That industrial rate schedule payment is effective the first day of the first month after you adopt it. So if you adopt it this month, then it's January, which means that you're outside of the you'll be outside of the calendar year 2017. So it's different. It's broken up differently for residential and commercial, and then for industrial rates. Now, for every year after 2018, so for 2019 and later, it'll be the same schedule. It'll be industrial, residential, and commercial for the previous calendar year. Does that make sense at all? Yeah. It's broken up differently for the first year for industrial, commercial, and residential. But after in 2019 and later, it'll be the same. And I think that's really the only thing that is noteworthy about this. One more thing. The city agrees to, in the event it grants any other entity the right to use and occupy the city streets for like purposes. So any other electrical franchises would their franchise would be granted subject to the same conditions. Now there's already an electric franchise that exists, Snap and Shows. So Snap and Shows would be subject to that because they already exist. But I think it could benefit from clarification if we made it clear that Snap and Shows would not be subject to this provision. Any questions?
When you say clarification, you mean actually write that into the ordinance?
Yes, it'll say something like that any other entity that exists after or that's granted after the effective date of this franchise. So it wouldn't apply to Snap and Shows. Snap and Shows provisions are a little bit different from this one. Generally the same, but a little bit different.
All right, and how would that reflect on the consumer's bill? Would that reflect an increase?
Yeah, there will probably be a separate franchise fee for consumers that use Georgia Power. You have a separate franchise fee depending on how much energy you consume, electricity you consume, it could be more or less.
Is it a percentage or?
It's 4%. 4% of the percent.
So, but what I'm really trying to get to, would it reflect differently as far as the income? In other words, when I receive my electric bill, and I see the 4% or whatever the franchise fee is, would that be something that was on my bill previously, but under another name, or would it be in addition to my old bill, or would it replace something?
It shouldn't, because the franchise fee wasn't being charged by the county. There was no electrical franchise for the county. The county can only have cable franchises. So it'll be an additional fee, and it'll probably increase the electric bill. Yes. Let's have.
Yeah, the one distinction was with Georgia Tower, they were already collecting this franchise fee in unincorporated areas, and so there will be a slight increase for what they've already been collecting, but they've already been collecting franchise fee.
Who are they paying to? Who are they paying to?
They were paying, they were just, I think that money was going to be directed.
Oh, okay. Okay, well, I stand corrected. They
Yeah, so
haven't
that
been
was the-
remitting to the CAD county.
Yeah, so that was the difference between Georgia Tower and Snap and Shoals. Was that
So Snap and
Shoals
Shoals
wasn't charging anything.
Okay, okay. So did they anticipate that this might happen? Maybe is that right? Okay.
I have a question. So, does Snap and Shows have exclusivity or exclusive service?
Does Snap and Shows
Do they have exclusive rights?
to?
Stonecrest and
No,
Stonecrest?
Georgia, to my knowledge, Georgia Power serves. It's Georgia Power and
It's
Snap.
Snap and Shoals, about 60/40. There's a territorial map that's already in place, and those bodies have already been established. But the majority of, once it gets over a certain kilowatt, then that typically rolls to Georgia Power. They're the one that serves. A lot of the commercial, bigger commercial sites, that's handled, serviced by Georgia Power. They have set distinct boundaries, and I think right now about 40% of the city is serviced by Snap and Shoals, you remain 60% by Georgia Power.
Okay, well, I'm asking because Gas South is now servicing clients in my area. So I'm just wondering if we have an updated list on the service providers in Stonecrest. And you can take it off mine, but I want to know if we have.
Yeah, I think with the gas,
Yeah, that's gas.
that falls under AGL, like it still all falls under the AGL umbrella. So maybe a number of different SCANA, one of them, I think still falls under AGL, because they still have to pay through AGL. So I think all of that is captured by the Lynn Gas Libraries. We've already collected franchise fees from them, so that's already in the works going forward.
Okay, so with the 35 years, I think you said it's a 35-year term or contractual term. How do we, or do we have any rights to modification?
Yes,
And
and
where is that in the contract?
I think every time I touch this might, should I just turn it on? Thank you. Okay, if you look at line 150, starting at line 158, section 8-2-14, entitled Amendments, the company and the city may enter into such additional agreements. However, they shall not be inconsistent. I guess if they amended, nothing prohibits us from amending our agreement. I guess there can be additional agreements that would govern areas that are not in, this provision says that there can be additional agreements that would govern areas that are not in this contract. But nothing prohibits us here from amending this ordinance or amending our agreement. There's no prohibition.
Actually, Georgia Power, they have a standard contract that they do with all of their cities, and so all of their cities are set at 4% and for 35 years. So that was understanding that we were seeing when we met. That's just a standard provision that they put in their contracts.
Isn't there a rebate that they push back to the consumer? I think it's like 1.5%, 2% or something like that.
Right, because the franchise fee, the customers are not charged the full 4%.
Got it. Madam Attorney, on the same line, I have noticed that throughout several cities in Georgia, and I've sort of been thinking about this for some years now. I can name you two places. One right off the bat that I can think of is Warner Robins, Georgia. They have their own EMC. So future plans in my mind is to be able to do several things. One, eventually provide some type of power for Stonecrest. And two, Mr. Joyner has been entertaining several solar farms that are now interested to provide power, coming to Stonecrest. So I said that to say, I want to be able to make sure that we're not prohibited,
Well,
from doing that in the future.
well, in the you're not prohibited from doing that. However, the ordinance, in the Georgia Power Ordinance, the city is agreeing that if there's any other entity that wants an electrical franchise, that it will be granted that franchise on these same terms and conditions as Georgia Power. So if that's an issue, we can of course negotiate with them further to remove that provision. I don't know if it's going to be successful, but if that's something that you foresee, and you might foresee a problem with agreeing to the 4%, the terms and conditions in this franchise fee, which are the 4% and the payment in March of the next year for the previous calendar year's energy sales, then we might want to revisit that. But if you think that that would be something that the electrical franchises will be amenable to in the future, then we could leave it like this.
So, break this down for me, so I understand it, because Mr. Harrison and I just finished an extensive meeting with Georgia Power. If we wanted to entertain other providers in the future, or become a provider ourselves, we need to do something about that clause.
Yeah, well, if you foresee a problem with sticking to the same terms and conditions of this franchise. So if everyone else will be, if you think that it's something that's done uniformly throughout the other energy franchises, that this 4% fee and this payment in March for the previous year is something that everybody's doing, then that might not be a problem. So for example, for Snap and Shows, what is their percentage? Are they 4%? So that's pretty much the same as this. It might be standard across the state. I'd have to look more into it. But if it's standard across the state, and this provision says that any other entity that gets an electrical franchise would have to really have the same terms and conditions of this, then it's not even anything to argue about, because they'll probably have the same terms and conditions anyway. So.
Okay. How do you feel about that, Mr. Superintendent?
Good. I mean, the biggest challenge we have right now is, the battle that we've been fighting to get the money in hand. That's, the good thing is, because a lot of the legwork that was done early on, Mr. Joyner, I think we're in a much better seat certainly than our contemporaries out in the south side. That was expressed by the folks at Georgia Power. But again, I think that the agreement itself is relatively standard. I mean, it's the same agreement that needs further jurisdiction. So now, as was relayed in our meeting with Georgia Power representatives, the next steps in the process would be move forward, we approve this, get the approval, get that signed, get that over to them. Right now, where they stand in the process is they've gone through, they have to go through it. Once they certify all the addresses, that's what took the lion's share of the time to do, even after we provided most of all the information months back. They finally got through that process, and they had to go through a 30-day trial period, trial run. So they completed that trial run, and now they're in the process of actually computing and calculating out what that annual revenue amount should be to the city. Once that's determined, then by their policy, they can loan, if you will, kind of the term that they use, 25% of that amount, which simply would be just deducted off of what our final payment would be we received in February, March. So we're just waiting to get that final number. They clearly understand that we have a need to make sure we get the number, and more importantly, get that check in our hand prior to the end of the year. So that's what they're working on that premise, and we talk with them literally about every day or every other day, just to make sure that's still moving forward.
So, I got two questions, and there's one that we can just kind of like talk out. One is, just to make sure I heard you correctly, we're waiting on a check now from Georgia Power, is that correct?
Well, we're not calling this Georgia Power. They've gone through, what they do is they'll take our database of all of our addresses, once they've certified all the addresses that they truly service here within our jurisdiction boundaries. They'll take that and they'll do a trial run for a month and figure out and compute what would be generated based on our 4%, what would that generate in revenues to the city. It's just a trial run. And then they'll take that number, compute it, and then come back to us and say, here's what we anticipate being, we got this number for the month, so we take that and we extrapolate it over the course of the year, but this is what we anticipate you be, your revenues will be, your annual revenues will be on a yearly basis. And from there, we'll take 25% of that and front us 25% of our due payment.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. So that's different from, they're giving us monies for collections that they have made previously.
Right.
So this is, they will only collect for times, from this point forward.
Correct.
Okay, so with that in mind, what is the probability of rolling out a rate, starting at a lower amount and going to a higher amount? Can we entertain something of that nature, or is that just logistically crazy?
Yeah, I know there's a number of conversations that we had.
Just say it's crazy, it's okay.
I don't know if that's going to be presented as an option, and I don't know if it's something that you want to really try to toy around with, in all honesty. Because even with Snap and Shows, their structure was quite a bit different. Theirs was 4%, and they simply just flat rate that they added onto the bill. So we actually started making those collections once they instituted onto the bills. We've been receiving those collections since October. We're going to take that money, start using that to build more robust city hall. But I know the PSD it gets involved in the equation. And I think that was
Actually, that is the issue. The PSC regulates what Georgia Power does.
The PSC regulates, no, in other words, that's not an issue for the city, we basically just go with it. Yeah, all right, good enough, thanks, sir.
I know you already calculated about what it will be, but what's that rough number in terms of an annual or monthly?
Yeah, I'm hoping that number is ballpark around 1 to 1.2 million. And that's kind of ballpark what the representative from Georgia Power initiated, he seemed to think. But again, he said, I haven't seen the numbers, I was trying to gauge that based on similar sized populations and based on the volume. Because again, we don't have the entirety of the city, we have a portion of the city. So that's he's trying to gauge that based on what our population numbers are and their percentage of it. So those are some of the numbers that I've used, to talk a little bit about as we go forward as estimates, because we have to make some kind of annual projection. Again, franchise fees is a tremendous part of our anticipated revenues. So the sooner we know exactly definitively what that number is, then we can really tighten up our budget and have a better understanding of exactly what we stand with. For estimation purposes, that's the range that was utilized on the conservative side of that, in all honesty.
Good, anything else, guys?
No,
All right.
questions?
Any more? All right. Thank you, Chairman Washington.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Levine?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. In the spirit of following the mayor and the council's vision for the city of Stonecrest, I am pleased to inform you we've had a series of meetings with technology firms, some from all over the nation. And in an effort to create and implement the smart city, which we all agree is in our strategic plan, it's in our vision, in order to create high-paying jobs, in order for the city to operate more efficient, and in order for us to deliver services in a faster way. We've all agreed that it doesn't make much sense to build a city for today or yesterday. And so we have to be on the cutting edge when it comes to technology. We need to be innovative, and we've already agreed that this is the direction that we need to go. So throughout the last 3 or 4 weeks, I've had several meetings, and I'm pleased to say I see one of the I see one of the companies I've been meeting with sitting here in the audience today. So based on a review of smart city implementation and development services, and in the spirit of attracting high-quality businesses to collaborate with the city of Stonecrest, these companies have offered their support in the form of pilot programs and some of them unpaid programs. Some of them have submitted letters of intent for the mayor and the council to review. One of them presented developing a mobile app pilot tailored to solving code violation challenges. And they have also offered the city of Stonecrest a sponsorship for a hackathon to solve any problem we'd like to explore. The letter of intent does not constitute a contractual agreement to purchase any products from you or from us at this time. It's just support for future ventures, and they have a genuine interest in partnering with Stonecrest to help move Stonecrest to the next level. We're looking at future IT hardware, we're looking at software, we're looking at consulting services, and we're looking at not just services and software, but we're looking at a real partner, someone who wants to come in here and do mentoring and other things with the youth in our community. So what I asked them to do, and I'll pass this around starting with the mayor. What I've asked them to do is to just give me something that I can briefly share with mayor and council. This is a pilot. This would be a pilot program. Not going to cost Stonecrest anything other than a willingness to try something new. One of the things that I thought was very, very something that we've been talking about is how do we automate hot citizen issues and e-services or e-government services like they offer in Columbus and like they offer in Portland and in Orange County, California, and in Dubai and other countries. I could list many of them. But one of the things that citizens would be able to do with this pilot program is just from this little cell phone right here, they can report potholes, they can report trash dumping, they can report criminal activity, they can report blight properties, vacant properties, they can report any lighting issues, they can report junk cars, and the list goes on. They can report anything that the mayor and council think that we would like to have them report. In addition to that, that's just one of the many, many services that these businesses offer. They can also automate all of our business processes, including citizen surveys and feedback management, both emailing, e-newsletter, web content management, a very, very robust social media communication, which actually would be a great partner with our communications department. Some of the city services management would be incident reporting, change management, case management, service catalog management, service budgeting, and expense management. And then they can also work with the city manager for automation of timesheets and timekeeping. They can also do citizen data management. I'm kind of skipping around because there's a lot on here. They specialize in data mining, and they also have done work in other states. And I believe they've done some work in Alabama, some work in Washington, some work here in Georgia. And they came with roaring, I've checked out some of the references, and they've worked with the University of Alaska, Alaska state legislators, the city of, I don't know if it's Anchorage or Juneau, but they've worked with those cities, and they are looking, mayor and council, they're looking for a home here in Stonecrest. They're looking for office space. I've been working, we've had dinner a couple of times this week. We've been looking at potential locations for them to locate right here in the city of Stonecrest, so they'll be close to the mayor and council. And right now, they're coming to the table with, let me show you what I can do to save you money, and not only just save money, but we are exploring the creation of some high-paying jobs, and we have a whole plan, but it's too much, it's not enough time for me to roll out how we would actually do that, but it would be a great foundation for to continue to build on what the mayor and council are already trying to do, and that is to bring robust economic development into Stonecrest. And in order to do that, we got a lot of people that commute out of Stonecrest to work for these high-paying jobs. We have to bring these jobs back here to Stonecrest, and the only way to do that is to create some jobs right here in our community that are paying more than minimum wage, even more than $10, $20 an hour. And I think technology is the fastest, least expensive way for us to get there. And throughout this pilot program, we can modify it. If the mayor says, I don't like that, or council members say, you know, hey, I want to see what this can do. But it's a great opportunity to be able to speak back and forth with your constituents in a faster fashion for the city to know what's happening. We got problems with dumping in Stonecrest. You know, by the time they report it to us, it's what, you know, a week later, and then what do we do when they report it to us? We don't have any evidence of who dumped it. I know I got some in my neighborhood now. Potholes. It'd be nice to not have to fill out a physical. I'm against anything that we have to come in and fill out a lot of paperwork for business permitting. How do we help our business community? And this is one of the ways that we can get with the business community, have some roundtable conversations, find out what the business community wants, and work with this pilot program to deliver what the business wants, and let the business be part of building out the infrastructure and the platform so that we can be a true smart city, and we'll be really continue to be on the map like we were with Amazon. And I'll entertain any questions that I can answer.
I have a question in reference to the process and getting this together. Now, did you look at other companies, or is this the only company? And how did you possibly contact other companies or let other companies know we were interested in moving in this direction or whatever?
Good question, Councilman Turner. The companies are contacting me. And that's why I'm just sitting here overwhelmed with, they are finding us. Now, maybe, you know, the fact that we're on every news station now, you think that may have something to do with it? I don't know. But we are getting calls from companies who are searching out what we do. And I guess you're looking on the website and seeing one of the things that we want to do is build out a smart city. And we don't want to just be taught. We want to start some implementation of some of these programs. So to answer your question, Councilman, they are contacting me saying, what can we do to help your company move along? I've spoken to 6 of them. Only 2 of them have offered the free pilot programs, and only 2 of them have offered a true partnership where they are willing to relocate. And well, they're not going to do a relocation, but they will open another office here in the city of Stonecrest if they're able to find adequate office space. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, now what about the other company you said you had 2?
The other company is not quite as robust as this company. They're wanting to do a hackathon.
A what?
A hackathon.
Okay.
They want to sponsor a hackathon. This company can do it all. And the hackathon would be just to solve a problem.
Right.
Say, for example, we say we have problems with dumping furniture on the side of the road. They would do a hackathon to come up with some solutions. And then they would create the software and hardware infrastructure, working closely with the city operations and the mayor's office to determine what's best for us. Maybe something simple initially, and as we build it out, we can kind of, you know, make it a little bit more advanced and complex based on what we want.
I know we have a lot of committees, and you mentioned we were looking at these companies. This is one of the committees.
Well, as far as I know, we got a couple of us sitting up here that's a committee of one.
Now I'm just trying to see which committee is
Now this is Smart City. We have, like right now, we got about 83 businesses who are emailing saying, when will the next Smart City event take place? The last Smart City event, we hosted it at the Allen Institute. The mayor brought greetings. We invited our STEM students in from Arabia Mountain High School. They did a phenomenal presentation. They are prepared to work with our STEM students at a Arabian Mountain, our STEM students anywhere in any school. They've got a track record for working with the students in different schools that they've piloted up the programs. And I thought it would be a true, well-rounded, healthy partnership, rather than just come in and offer us something. Why not become a true partner with the city of Stonecrest?
I work with some as well, and I just need to know who to refer them to, city manager, to a committee, or whatever, if I want to know which committee I'm working with.
Well, I mean, even if you refer it to, I'm the liaison for Smart City,
Gotcha.
but if the city manager generally contacts me, if he gets a call in regards to Smart City or something related to technology, I'm not sensitive to that, just, you know, he'll get it to me, but I am the official liaison for Smart City.
Gotcha.
Anybody else come? Okay. Thank you, Councilwoman. We'll move to our 2018 budget.
Good evening, all. I know we had on our discussion, the intent today was just to kind of get the initial draft in your hands, so we can start the process of sitting down and going through and discussing line by line each item that's in there and addressing all the questions. Again, I know you all just had less than a day or so just to kind of start perusing it. And so the intent today really was simply to get in your hands and let people know that the process has in fact begun. And as I stated in my email yesterday, what I'd like to do, what I certainly encourage, is to sit down with each and every one, be the one-on-one tours where I'd like to do it, and take time to go through every single line item and just make sure you're familiar and address any questions you may have as we go through this process. I floated a couple of dates out there. I still would like to go through and have a first read perhaps on the 4th, and with a tentative adoption date of the 18th. However, I certainly recognize, depending on the nature of the question that may come up, that there may be a need for a special call meeting to take place as well. So certainly willing to avail myself to any and everyone, whenever possible, I'd say evening, whatever works best for a confident individual. Just a couple of quick points I did want to highlight. It's interesting, as I was going through my notes, I went back in, I think the estimate that we were discussing back in August and September, we did a preliminary 2018 budget, and the number was about 6.06. So we're right in that same ballpark. Things haven't deviated a great deal. But again, it's a ballpark estimate right now, about 6.2. And that contemplates $857,000 being added to fund balance. Yes, ma'am.
Question before you get too deep into that. I have requested the 2017 actual numbers because, in all honesty, Mr. Harris, I don't have a starting point, and without a starting point of the actual 2017 numbers, I don't know what the reference point is. So just if you could get those to us, I think we can be more engaging.
Spoke with our accounts manager today, and they're working with our newly installed software folks. Everything has been, the line items have all been inputted. The challenge that we're having is there are some line items where there's duplication, so we have to go back and kind of scrub it out and make sure it's going to be an accurate list. So I actually go ahead and get you a printed out copy. If I can go through, get that scrubbing done, so we can get something over to you all, but yeah, we certainly can. So, again, adding about $857,000, which contemplates for the year 2018 to be added to fund balance. And just as a comparison, because the numbers that everyone has seen so far thus far to date have been those that have been shown through the Carl Benson Institute of Government, and that contemplated a annual budget of $9.8 million. And so people hear, well, they had 9.8, why are we only 6.2, or why are the numbers so much less? The big issue there is insurance premium. That's an estimated revenue, annual revenue of about $2.6 million. At the last meeting, we went through the process of making sure we can realize those revenues, but those collections do not begin until 2019. It has to go through a year in arrears before we can start those collections. So if you take 2.6 million that's estimated from the insurance premium revenues, that takes it down to about 7.2. The other million, quite frankly, is the estimate from Carl Vincent for the franchise fees was right at about 3.8 is what was estimated from the Carl Vincent study. And right now, our current projected actuals are about 2.3. I think that, while I think that is relatively conservative, as you heard earlier, we're still waiting on final numbers from Georgia Power. We can't definitively say exactly what the number should be, but we still think it's going to be at least about 1 to 1.2 less than what was projected by Carl Vincent's study. And again, you subtract that from the 7.2, that leaves us right at 6.2, which is where we're reflecting right now. So, just to give everybody some context as far as where we are tracking, how we are tracking in accordance with the Carl Vincent study. So it is about right dead on. And the other issue I did want to bring up, we can certainly get delved into this more deeply as we get into the budget, is one of the questions that I hear posed on a regular basis, how do our numbers compare from the administrative costs with those that are listed in the Carl Vincent study. As everyone knows, the city has opted to go through a third-party agreement with CH2M to provide those administrative costs. The Carl Vincent study estimated average admin cost of about $3.27 million per year. Right now, based on this budget, that number is going to look about right at about $3 million, depending on staffing level as we go forward. So. I think it's noteworthy just from the standpoint that the citizens realize the fiscal responsibility and the fiscal take that the council is taking and making sure that we are scrubbing our numbers, we are making sure we are being as fiscally sound as possible in presenting these budgets. So those are some of the main key points. Like I said, I know it's a lot to try to take in. We do have a relatively compressed time frame to kind of plow through everything, but we want to get it in your hands as quickly as possible. And again, start putting out, I'll be forwarding you emails and wait to hear back from you all as to when we can schedule time to sit down and start going through it. And then we come back in here and have a more robust conversation in the next public meeting. Mr. Mayor, council, take any questions they have at this time.
Under business taxes, I see for 2018, it's $2,100,000. And then 2017, $1,200,000. That's a 75% increase. Where's this increase coming from?
Great question.
And then since I don't have an actual, I can't see it, I'm sure there's an explanation, Mr. Harris. Let me just ask 2 or 3 questions together.
Well, if I can address that one quick.
Answer that one?
I can't keep that myself in my head.
Okay.
Too long. On the business license in particular.
Okay. So
So this year, and then we start from the very beginning, one of the big revenue pieces that we were really looking for was our check from DeKalb County. And that was for business licenses for that was the business, occupational tax and business license. That number's kind of rolled into one. It's occupational taxes as well as whatever regulatory fees that are associated with that. That was the $1.2 million check that we received from DeKalb County. It was not for the full year. And this was part of the impetus for us to get up and started by July 1, so we can go back to DeKalb County, because all those collections are done at the beginning of the year. Business license renewals are due by April, so they've collected all those funds. However, they only service them for half of the year. So the rationale, the argument to the county was, because we're servicing them for the other half of the year, half of those revenues that were taken in should come to the city. And they were agreeable, we went back through, had those conversations. So that represents roughly half of what they've taken in to date. So the question would be, well, why is it not 50%? And because since that time, we've brought in additional business licenses that we've been able to, since the time that we've taken them in July, new businesses also come on. But more importantly, one step that we took a few months back was bringing on a third code enforcement officer for the sole purpose of going out to businesses and identifying businesses and finding out those businesses who had not applied for licenses. And I can provide that on Friday. Every list on Friday comes back and provides a list of how many businesses that have been notified. It's well over 100 that he's been able to identify and notify businesses that didn't have a business license. So now we've been able to take that, we've been able to build it now for the license and also add it to our renewal list. Over the course of the last week, we've been scrambling to put together our mailing list. So renewals will be going out this week for all of the 2018. So a big part of that is, one, it represented only half of the revenues from DeKalb County, and the other part is, we've been going through making a really conscientious effort, an aggressive effort, to go make sure we're identifying all the pieces out there, to make sure everybody's paying their fair share.
Okay, and I'm thinking what you just said might apply to my second question on business license. For 2018, we have 425,000.
Yes.
But then when I looked at the projections, because we don't have actuals, for 2017, I saw 10,000. And when I did the calculation on that, it was a 150% increase. So my question is the same.
Sure.
Why is there such a...
So what we did on that was, the 10,000 represented the new businesses that we anticipated bringing in. Actually, I think we're going to exceed that number, probably about 24,000 right now. Just representing new businesses that we brought in since we've taken over in July. The 145,000, or 425,000 rather, what that represents is, like I said, when we got the check from DeKalb County, it was occupational taxes, and within that fee that they charge, part of it is taxes, another part of it is regulatory administration fees. Our administration fees are $140 per license. Now, the actual tax bill may be $2,000 or $3,000, but our administrative fee, again, that's dependent upon the anticipated revenues for that business. So what I did in this case was actually broke out the number of, anticipated number of businesses. I think it's going to change somewhat, so it's roughly about 3,000 businesses times that $140. That comes out to the $425,000. So I simply took that number and broke it out into the regulatory administrative cost versus the actual taxes that are paid on the business license.
Okay, my last one, and I'll turn it over, let somebody else ask a question. And I'm thinking if I had the actuals for 2017, I may not have as many questions.
Sure.
So my other one is, when I looked at here in the Carl Vinson Institute study, I saw the annual, and I know the study is just a study, but it's a guide. The annual expenses were projected at, excuse me, $7,910,218. That was the projection in the study. And then the 2018 proposed budget expenses that you've provided are expected to be $6,221,000, and the revenue is projected to be the same. So the proposed budget doesn't really reflect a surplus. And then in the 2015 study, there was it was projected that it would be $1,937,933.36 surplus. So my question is, what are the primary factors that explain the differences in the revenue and expenses and the surplus?
Right.
And again, if I had actuals, I can probably answer.
We'll provide that to you. We're required to produce a balanced budget. So what you'll see in on this budget is, on the front page, on the very last line is designated reserve. So that represents your surplus. So that represents the number of revenues minus expenditures. So we're saying after all of our expenditures are done, we anticipate having $957,000 in surplus, as opposed to the 1.9. But again, keep in mind, this is $2.5 million short based on the insurance premiums not coming in. So there's that offset as well. So that's that difference. So it's not, you'll always see the revenues and expenditures matching. The balance is that last line, which is designated revenue, designated reserve rather, and that becomes your fund balance. So we anticipate our actual expenses being that 6.221 minus 957,000, roughly about $1 million. So about 5.2 million in expenditures versus the 6.2 million in anticipated revenues.
With the parents, I do understand that comparing 2017 to 2018, talking about half a year, I am in agreement with Donna, that, that was nice to see those figures, and you said 50 times that you're going to get that.
Yes, sir.
But also, may have already mentioned this, and if that's the case, then just bear with me. If you could provide as well, sometime between now and hopefully before, some validation for the budget or explanation for the numbers, how we arrive at these numbers. Beyond that, we haven't had the history of dealing with budgets to this point. So we really don't have anything compared to, and since we have this oversight and city council, I think it just would be wise that if we could have something as a guide to say, okay, to make us feel comfortable about the projections, so that then the decisions that we make based on these budgets or based on this number, we actually feel even more comfortable about those decisions.
Councilman Patton made a great point, and there will be a narrative that's included with this, that we drafted by the mayor and myself. And it'll kind of go through, what it'll do is kind of really kind of address every respective division and category, and kind of give the highlights, what makes up the total amount for, for the different line items. Again, the summary is kind of broken down to about 10, 12 line items. So for each one of those to be broken out with the narrative to explain what's in this, staffing that's in this, what are the primary principal expenditures included within that line item, and in the same manner with our revenues. Here are, for selective sales and use tax. What is that made up of? How is that broken down? Within the context of the budget, this summary is broken down in further detail, but the narrative will be able to give you a narrative on exactly what makes up the respective revenue line item as well as the respective expenditure line item.
And I know this goes without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway. And when we do have those breakout meetings, whether it's 2 on 2, 1 on 1, or whatever, I'm assuming you're trying to avoid a forum. So whatever is shared in the individual meeting can be shared
Absolutely.
as well.
Great point, and it should be. Yeah, so we'll certainly keep comprehensive notes the entire time and share those with everybody and let everyone know this is what some of the concerns have been raised, some of the questions have been raised, and here's how they've been answered and addressed.
I know it's going to be covered in the detail, but I've had a lot of questions about identifying Stonecrest with signage, markers.
Yeah.
And I noticed there was only $80,000 for marketing. There's on the economic development. Is there another line that I'm missing?
No, but it's a great point you raised. Part of the summer funds, because when we go back to our hotel motel fees, a big chunk of those funds go into, back in our GL, that are they can only be used specifically for tourism items like wayfinding and signage. So within the body of this, there's also a line that talks about how much of that money from hotel motel, and I think we're anticipating about $600,000 to come in next year. 40-some%, about close to $500,000 will be able to be set aside solely for the tourism, and that can be utilized in full for things like wayfinding, signage, and that was the thought that we would be coming from there, as opposed to getting to our GL funds.
Mr. City Manager, I see that you have other licenses and permits. Now, under this, are we looking at film permits and licensing, trying to see any type of line item for that? Or is that under economic development?
Under building development permits.
Well, I'm looking at the licensing permits. And yeah, building and development permits, I see those specified for building and development and zoning, but I don't see anything specified for film.
Yeah, other licensing permits. That's a good point. Yeah, that's something, in fact, we're glad you brought that up. We don't know exactly what that number's going to look like, but yeah, I met with our economic development director today. We'll be meeting with the county about the film city, film readiness. So we'll be able to add as a line item. So it's a good point. It's a great point.
Mr. Harris, I guess my other question is, again, our preferences with Carl Vincent is a study, so we don't have to follow the study, verbatim. But in my opinion, it looks like we've deviated quite a bit from the study, and maybe that's necessary. But I think when I look at page 14 of the study, it stipulates in the footnote number 4 that to determine the services on which to estimate expenditures, it was assumed that our city would be comprised of code enforcement, planning and zoning, parks and recreation. And that's what the study was based on. And it did go on to elaborate on the other services. But I know we're taking on some of the other services, so we're deviating from the study a little bit, I think. And so when I look at that, I guess one of my concerns is we don't have a budget yet. We haven't went through this process yet, and we've deviated quite a bit from the study. And then when I look at the, hold on a second.
Well, you say deviate, you mean as far as the services that we're offering?
Well, if you look at the study on that page I just referenced, the study was based on the city of Stonecrest providing 3 services.
Yes, ma'am.
And that's on page 14,
Right.
4. I understand that we've deviated from that, and there's reason for the deviation.
Well, we're still providing code enforcement, planning and zoning, building services, with the intent of, in this budget also contemplates moving into the Parks and Rec. You know, we have 2 years, so the intent was, the plan was, to start that process in 2018, and then, but not fully take it over until our timeframe is sometime in 2019 per the, for the 2-year window that we had. So you also notice on page 15 where it talks about the expenditures, it's got about $3 million in different parks. I don't have that in different parks, because we don't anticipate that kind of expenditure for 2018. We'll work through that and see what that's going to, we'll find out what a better idea as you go through the assessment process of our park facilities and see what that actual cost will be, but that's not included in this 2018 current budget, so.
Okay. And my other question is, the CH2M contract calls for $283,000 a month. That's what I saw.
Right.
You can correct me if I'm wrong. And my question is, at $283,000 a month, or about $3.4 million a year, then this budget exceeds that $16 million. Looks like we're at $6.2 million. I mean, can you address that? You know, who's paying? And maybe I'm just confused here, but who pays the extra money? And is there extra money owed?
No. I went back and read the numbers. I think the 283 should work out to right about 2.997 per year, I believe. And again, remember that first year was only 1.7, the current year that we're in. So I'm not sure if that's what's kind of taking you over the top.
I'd like for you to verify
Sure.
that statement, like the 283,000 and 3.4 million a year. And then the other question is, I know we're going to have SPOSH revenues coming in for fiscal year 2018.
Yeah.
I didn't see a budget for that, and maybe this is not the time to talk about that.
No, so
Okay.
lost funds have to, by law, remain segregated from your general accounting funds. So that would be a whole separate accounting function unto itself.
Okay, and my other question is, I'm not clear how it's not clear to me how the revenues and the expenses of economic development, community development is accounted for in the budget. Community development had an expense of $1.5 million, and economic development had a budget expense of $325,500. So I guess the question is, what's their revenue stream? Because when I look at the study, it was projected to be $234,106.24
For community development,
for community development.
it's a great point. And that kind of goes back to my point earlier about community development. Because in this case, they have community development broken out as its own standalone department. What it does not include is, you see right below that, planning and zoning, 210,000, code enforcement, 379,000, building inspections, 370,000. In our model, all those pieces are rolled up and combined within, so all those items, all those functions are included in our community development. So a lot of it is the number of personnel that you have. So while the Carl Vincent study is broken out by line, and again, at some point, if we go further on, we can certainly go back to and break out code enforcement department and building department. But right now, for simplicity's sake, everything is contained within that community development department, and within, under our model here, that includes code enforcement, that includes planning and zoning, that includes building inspections, building permitting. So that's what makes it that differential.
You're gonna break that out for us?
Yes, ma'am, I sure we can.
Okay, all right, and then, so if I'm not mistaken, I was reading the Georgia Code today,
Yes.
and there are guidelines and stipulation as to how the insurance premium money collected by the city can be spent or used. And I'm wondering if this has to be used for fire and rescue, 911, or other similar services. And maybe that's, there's a designated fund there in the budget, but I didn't see that.
Yeah, well, again, this year, we're not collecting insurance premiums, we won't begin those collections in 2019. So we certainly have to, we have to have our ordinance in place this year in order to begin collections in the first of 2019. So we have a little bit of time before we have to make that distinction, but something we can certainly delve into a little more closely. And that's the state law, we'll make sure we follow.
Yeah, it's a state law. Now, what I found, that I don't have actuals, again, as a point of reference, but it looks like the biggest issue with the projections for 2017 is calling for a property tax levy. Can you address that?
If there will be a property tax levy,
Yeah, because when I looked at the 2017, I don't have actuals, keep that in mind.
Right.
So I'm basing this off of projections. So I don't have a point of reference, but it looks like it's calling for a property tax levy or millage.
now are you saying that's what from the Carl Vinson study or from ours? Because the 2017 didn't reflect any property tax being levied. That would, again, and to do that, it would require action by council referendum, go back to an increase in millage and set a millage and take that step. This budget that's proposed for 2018 does not contemplate a millage increase. Now, we are still working with the county on our host revenues, but that's a slightly separate issue.
Okay, I saw something at 3.35 millage. I'm trying to.
Our charter mandates that we cannot exceed, our current charter mandates that we cannot exceed a millage of 3.35. I think that's one of the proposals that included in the proposed charter amendments is to amend that number. But right now, the way our charter is drafted, it sets a threshold, a limit of 3.35 millage for the city. We can't, I think if we want to go beyond that, then there's steps we have to take to go beyond that 3.35 millage.
Okay, and then when you look at the 2017 budget, that was just for 6 or 7 months?
Right, 7 months. I believe.
7 or 6?
I think it's 7 months, I think it's.
Okay, 7 months, and the 2018 is full 12 months.
Yes.
So, what explains the city council budget going from $81,417 to more than $311,000, an approximate increase of almost 4 times the expense from the 2017, which were projections, right, and estimates. And in the Carl Vinson Institute study, I don't have the exact page here, they have the city council budget projected to be $403,227. So just some discrepancy in numbers. I'm trying to get them worked out in my mind.
And I think that's based on, they're looking at, I'm sure for those numbers, looking at cities of similar size. Obviously, for the city, they didn't start, well, for 7 months, it's been a full year. I think you just started making collection, salary in May after you had the first meeting. So that would be extended out for the year, but there are some proposed changes within, and as was discussed at the recent work session in regards to expenses for council. Obviously, it's also extending your salary for a full year as opposed to 6 or 7 months. And the adjustments to the, for training and travel, I think that was a big part of the conversation, kind of breaking out those expenditures. So we have set categories for training, for travel, and counseling, and major expenses as well. So those have been broken down a little bit more in detail.
Last question.
Yes, ma'am.
So what explains that decrease in revenue from the insurance premiums that was projected? Would that be because of fire and rescue? It looks like I saw a decrease in the insurance premium revenues.
Actually, I don't have insurance premium revenues listed in 2018 because we're not going to be collecting insurance premiums in 2018. Collections won't begin until 2019. It's shown on the Carl Vinson study as, I believe, 2.5 million, but again, we won't know. Once, as we get into next year and you start going through the analysis, we'll have a better idea exactly what that number is going to be. But again, collections for insurance premiums will not begin until 2019. So in 2018, if you see it in there, let me know, because it shouldn't actually be in there. They have a inflated number somewhere.
I got it in my notes here somewhere. I'm looking, because what I have here is Carl Vinson projected $2,551,000 in revenue, and the 2018 budget have that amount set at $2.31 million. So I need to go back and review that section.
No, but that's for general property tax. That 2.3.
The 2.331.
Right. What that represents is the 2.3 million. What that represents is franchise fees. It has nothing to do with insurance premium fees. And that goes back to my comment earlier. The Carl Vinson estimated, I think, 3.5 million for revenues and franchise fees. And as it stands right now, we just don't think we're going to hit that number. We think we're going to be about $1 million less, $1 to $1.2 million less. So just how they come up with their number. Again, some of it is just going to be, we're not sure exactly how it comes to pass, but they anticipated, the Carl Vinson study estimated 3.8 in franchise fees, and again, I think right now that number is going to be close to 2.3 on a conservative side. Hopefully we can get up to 3 million, and that just creates that much more fund balance surplus on our end. But I think it was important at this stage to make sure we stay conservative in our approach, and that's what that represents. And again, so that's that differential franchise fees, as well as the fact that we're not collecting insurance premiums this year. That makes up that difference between the 9.5 estimated revenues from Carl Vinson versus our 6.2 and anticipated revenues for 2018.
Just one more question.
I don't want you to run out of questions before we get a chance to meet.
Oh, no, okay. Under finance and well, I have the actuals I would have.
I understand.
Under finance and administration, it's showing for 2018, $620,700. But then when I look at 2017 projections, I have $5,710. And then when I do the calculate the percentage of change, it's like a 10,770.40 percentage change.
Yeah.
I red flag that.
No, it's a great question.
I don't know what's going on there, but it don't.
No, it's a great question, it's a legitimate question, and those are some of the things that the narrative will be able to address, because in that case, what we looked at in 17 as far as where we place people, we had some people placed on our finance side that we've since moved out, and that represents a different number of staff people. It also contemplates bringing on a finance director. So that's added to it. But those are perfect questions, and again, I'm happy to kind of walk through and explain exactly what that transition between 17 and 18, and what those big differential items are. So, but that's kind of a quick answer. There is a reason for that.
Thank you, Mr. Harris.
Yes, ma'am, you're welcome.
Mr. Harris, I know we're getting on the 101 more details, but on the same line, finance administration audit services, is this gonna be internal or external?
That accounts for both. Yeah, we have to do an annual external audit, that has to be done, we'll have to do one this year, with a firm, they'll probably come in, it has to be done by Councilwoman Cowell by June, I believe, so we'll probably start like in February, March on that process. And it also accounts for funding for the internal auditor that the council voted on earlier this year.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Manager,
Yes, sir.
I want to make a point for clarity on a couple of subjects. One is that came pretty close to the actuals with 2017. However, mayor and city manager can't give you actuals if we don't get to check with George Powell. That's the first thing. So we have to work in those confines to be as close as we can. Two, Parks and Recreation, which was a large delta in the Carl Vinson study with regards to capital outlay. That was probably close to $3 million, now a little over $3 million.
Correct.
Our advantage now for the future is that one, we remove that particular piece of it up front. Two, we have a bonus round with SPLOST because that's provided with regards to the capital outlay and the expenditures that we can produce with regards to SPLOST without coming out of the general fund. This is a great deal for us. Otherwise, we wouldn't have to pay out of the general fund hand in mouth. And we don't have to do that now. That in by itself is fantastic. Particularly parks. Let's go to parks for a second. Myself and the assistant city manager, Mr. John, we've done a pretty extensive look at this, particularly for DeKalb County. Parks is a losing proposition. It does not make money at all. It is a cost center, just as sure as you sit here. So the reason that we are taking our judicious time about these parks is that they are in disarray. So the ones that we're going to need capital improvement up front. So quite frankly, we are negotiating that path at this point with DeKalb County before we take the pig in the poultry. There's everything in the world to do with it. However, Mr. Harris and I did budget for a person that we can bring on to make that transition to oversee where we're going in the parks arena. So that those are the two large, items that are in the situation where we wouldn't have to take on immediate capital debt, and that's not going to be in our program.
Mr. Harris, when you give us the narrative and all the other supplemental documents that you've been asked for,
Yes.
can you also provide a before and after org chart?
Yes.
Do you guys, Mr. Harris, anticipate that we will need additional time to go through this budget? Not additional time as in extending it, but as additional time as in having additional council meetings or work sessions so we can hit the deadlines that you guys are aiming at for 18. And I do believe that the narratives will go a long way in getting this done, hopefully, so that we don't have a lot of redundancy in some of these issues.
Yeah, I do. I think, my hope is that we have that initial meeting, provide us information, and again, like some of the detail that Councilman Dunn has already kind of gotten into, being able to go through and in detail clarify and make sure everyone has clear understanding of how we derived and how we got the numbers that we're at. And I hope that after we get to that initial wave of meetings, everyone, to see, at that point we kind of gauge, are we close, or are we going to need a little more time after that? But I think hopefully we'll be able to address myself, mayor, staff here to address all your initial questions up front. And, I suspect out of there may be a handful of issues that may still linger that we need to be in discussion amongst council to rectify. But, right now this is priority 1, 2, and 3 for me. Commission is they take care of. So like I said, we'll certainly want to avail myself to make sure any time available.
Two final things is how you feel based on your expertise as the city manager. How do you feel along the line that we compare? How do you feel that we're performing or will perform in 2018 compared to the Carl Vinson Institute? That's number two, actually. Number one is, how important is it that we, what should we consider in comparing ourselves to the Carl Vinson Institute? Is it something that we should just simply use as a guideline, or is it something that we should be really a stickler for, or how should we look at that? So that going forward, we know that these comparisons even matters.
Right, and that's a great question. I think it is. I think it's a great guiding tool, but it certainly is not necessarily your be-all to end-all. There are always going to be unique circumstances within any jurisdiction. In our case, it's no different. You ask how I think we're doing. I think we're doing spectacular, principally from the standpoint of one of the areas that we are really outdistancing the Carl Vinson estimates is in our building and development permits. That's something we have a little bit more control over, making sure, one, that we started the process, we have a good process in place, where we're able to make sure that people coming in, it's an environment where people can come in, they can get their permits in a timely manner. And so people understand that we're very business friendly oriented, and so that word has gotten out, so we're getting a lot of activity. So I think we're going to likely double the number that was estimated in Carl Vinson. And again, I think that's a testament to the people that we have, the staff people that we have in place, making sure that we are turning those things around on a good basis. Some of the other areas, like franchise fees, it's a little more challenging. I mean, they took their study based on other similar sized jurisdictions. So while we kind of went in with the understanding, hey, we're looking at 3.8 million or 3.5 million, for franchise fees. That just hasn't materialized. There was nothing that we could do in regards to that. So sometimes it just depends on what the actuals are. But again, I think I love the Carl Vinson studies. I think these are great guidance on a lot of different areas. I think the administrative costs that they've come up with, I think those are appropriate. And I think, and I go back and double check the numbers and put them down. But again, as I stated earlier, I think we are beating those numbers, from a cost standpoint. So that's always the case. You want to, beat your anticipated expenditures and outrun your revenues. And I think in a lot of areas we're doing just that. So, to your question, I think we are doing very, very well. And again, the approach that I historically take is a very conservative one. I think that's, especially for the first couple of years, I think that's important. Because again, the main thing is we want to build up our fund balance and make sure we get ourselves in as strong a fiscal position as we possibly can. So that's what this contemplates. There's always going to be inevitabilities that we don't necessarily know, but the stronger your fund balance is, the easier it is to be able to endure those ups and downs and challenges that invariably will arise. So.
I'm gonna save my questions for our one-on-one.
I know they're coming.
You don't want to see my one-on-one list.
I do. Let's be good.
My one-on-one is like 30 pages long.
Rock and roll, keep it on. And actually tomorrow I'll start setting out some slots and times where whoever's going to be best workable for the council.
All right.
Anything else?
Sounds good, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Councilor Walter. Councilman Clayton.
Yes, I have an announcement to make on December 5th. We'll be offering to any business or entrepreneur in Stonecrest the ability to attend a free workshop and get general information on how to read an RFP regardless of where it's coming from. And we'll walk you through the steps, baby steps, and how to read and interpret it and how to be competitive when reviewing an RFP. It's going to be right here on December 5th. It's a lunch meeting from 11 to 1.
Councilman.
District 4 has scheduled its quarterly meeting, town hall meeting for December 2nd week. but we moved it up for tomorrow night at Brownsville Recreation Center at 7 p.m. District 4, Town Hall meeting, tomorrow night, Brownsville Recreation Center on Brownsville Road, 7 p.m.
Okay. All right. I will close from here. A couple of top-level comments. And Councilman Planning was talking to think about it. Having sat through 15-plus years of city council meetings before becoming mayor here, and had an opportunity to watch many of budgets from many cities. Mr. Harris is right on the mark. We are doing exceptionally well, particularly for this city. And our blessing in disguise, I can't say it enough this once, blessing in disguise, because that money we wouldn't have to absorb out of a general fund that was, close to the cup anyway. I've had the pleasure of being able to watch Mr. Harris make the sausage, and he is a really, really good sausage maker.
Thank you,
He is solid with those numbers, so I consider myself to be a pretty good, competent businessman, but he knows the details backwards and forward, and most of all, he's had this experience before, with much larger budgets than where we are today. So I am very, very pleased with what I see. So, with that, council, please feel free to contact him, as he said, direct, make your appointment, ask all the things you want to ask. Go under the assumption that we are doing the right thing, which we are. It's not hard to figure out. You can look at the Carl Winston Institute, their study, and it's pretty closely aligned to it. But we're tracking better than what the study would say. So that's what I'm very, very pleased about. With that, we are adjourned.